right now. We're talking about celiac disease. Chances are you know someone who has it, or maybe you have it yourself. And it really is a game changer when it comes to what you can put into your body. So we're here in the Meal House with registered dietitian Beth Rosen. Beth, thanks for being with us.
Nice to see you, Erica.
Now, we were just talking during the break, and a lot more people are being diagnosed with celiac disease when you compare the numbers now as opposed to 10 years ago.
Yes, I think people are more aware that celiac disease exists.
Right.
So 1 in 100 Americans have celiac disease, but a large percentage of those people are undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. And it's a dangerous place to be if you actually have it.
And talk a little bit more about what exactly it is. I think a lot of people know that it has to do with gluten intolerance, gluten allergy, but talk a little bit more about what it does to the body.
So celiac disease, like you said, is an allergy to gluten, which is the protein in wheat, rye, and barley. Those are grains. And what the gluten will do is it causes damage to the small intestine, the lining in the small intestine called the villi, and that's where our nutrients are absorbed. So what will happen is those get blunted down and nutrients aren't able to be absorbed, so it can lead to malnutrition, but it can also lead to things like anemia and some cancers and osteoporosis as well.
Now we're going to talk as we continue here.
Yes.
We're going to be making a gluten-free banana bread, which is great.
Yes.
I just made one on Saturday, but if people are thinking they can't make certain things, but you can. You just have to make some adjustments, right?
Yes, yes. So we're going to make some adjustments using gluten-free flour. This is a blend that's already ready for baking, but you can buy any kind of flour that's gluten-free: rice flour, almond flour, cassava flour, and then add things to it to give it some structure. This is xanthan gum, which you would add to create structure in that flour, because that's what gluten does. If it's not there, it won't do that. But you can also buy pre-mixed baking flours and use those. So we're going to start with really ripe bananas. Yeah, and dump these into the bowl. And when you have somebody with celiac in the house, it's ideal, if you could, to make the whole house gluten-free, but if not, then to have tools that are designated for those people. So you might want to put some tape around the utensils that are meant only for people with a gluten-sensitive, gluten allergy in the house. This is one of my favorite tools. I call it banana masher.
If they're really, really
they're really ripe, it mushes real quick.
Right. Really, you can use a fork. That's what we did on Saturday.
Yeah, and the great thing about this recipe is that it can be done all in one bowl. So
speaking of the recipe, you can see it right there on the right-hand side of your screen. It's also going to be on our news app. So we've got the bananas. And
we've got one egg. We've got a 1/4 cup of melted butter. We've got baking soda.
See if we can get this in here.
Some sugar.
Here we go.
That got a little solid. A pinch of salt. Gluten-free baking flour, a little bit of vanilla
extract,
and then, like you said, you could take
the blueberries at the end.
Do that at the end. You can add in anything you want to add in. You can add in blueberries, chocolate chips. If you're going to add in chocolate chips, you want to make sure that the package says gluten-free on them. On this package here, there's a little mark here that shows gluten-free.
Yeah, so that's great. So many more products are basically adjusting their items for people who have gluten intolerance.
Yes, one good thing about the gluten-free diet becoming a fad diet amongst those looking for weight loss, which incidentally it doesn't help, that it's become products are more available to people who actually need them.
They're more in demand,
Yeah, so we would fold these in. Yeah, we just fold them in, and then we would empty this whole thing into a lined loaf pan that is meant for the people with celiac disease in your house. You'd line that up like that.
Because you do have to take extra precautions.
Exactly. We stick this in the oven.
And with the magic of TV, we
love the magic of TV.
Yeah,
we have a new one here.
Yes.
This one's blueberry. This one's chocolate chip. You can add anything to it. You can add nuts, whatever your heart desires, as long as it's gluten-free for the people who are gluten-free.
And while we have just a few more seconds, I just want to go over the symptoms. If some people think they may have it or they're not quite sure, but they just think, a lot of things don't sit right in my stomach. What should they do? And I guess, what are the specific symptoms? Is it just feeling like you sort of have, stomach problems?
So part of it is GI symptoms. You might have those symptoms as well, but you may also have things like brain fog or migraines.
Really?
You can have joint pain.
Okay.
You can also have infertility. And for in children, you might have failure to thrive or a lack of growth. So those are things to look out for. It's very easy to be tested at this point. You can go for blood tests, and then the gold standard is an endoscopy with a biopsy. But right off the bat, you can get tested to see if you even have the gene. If you don't have the gene, then you don't have celiac. And if you have the gene, you may not have celiac either. It's worth getting tested.
But it's better to know than to not know.
Yes,
Right.
and most importantly, to not go off gluten until you've had the testing. You need to be eating gluten in order to know whether or not you have
Right,
an
that's
allergy
crucial.
to
That's
it.
part
Yes.
of the testing.
Yes.
All right, Beth, thanks
Yes.
so much for being with us. We
Oh, my
really appreciate
pleasure.
it. This is